Ahead and get started. Once again, my name is Hunter Bonner. I live here in Marion County, Texas, and I did a video a few weeks ago that, quite honestly, it took off. I had lots of people emailing me, people I've never met before, people that I haven't met at any Republican events yet, but they were all saying the same thing. You know, yes, I am a common sense Republican, and you will see here on the screen here, I have that hashtag there, and I would encourage you to use that if that is who you feel like you are. Common sense Republicanism, absolutely key heading into this presidential election year. What I want to talk about tonight is pretty much what you saw in the stream here, and that is we're going to talk about some hypocrisy that is running rampant from some of the loudest voices in the RPT, and the loudest voices that we hear are those from, of course, that cult faction of our party. So anyway, sorry for the noise in the background. That's the dishwasher, and I'm at home, so that's part of doing a live stream, right? So anyway, just to let you know, I started looking at some of the things that people were saying, especially after this video came out. And I'm sorry I don't have my graphics up. I don't have my monitor with me. But that video that came out just a few days ago from Texas Scorecard called the Texas Heist, very well and very elaborate, video documentary. And one of the things that really stood out right from the beginning is when I heard Michael Quinn Sullivan said, you know, I've traveled all over Texas and Texans are telling me XYZ. But if you look in that video, you will not see one of those regular folks interviewed. The only people that were in that interview were people that are on Texas Scorecard's payroll, or they're on Defend Texas Liberty's payroll, or Pale Horse's payroll, which means they're on Wilkes and Dunn's payroll. Now, we're not going to go back down the path of who's funding it. We know it's two West Texas billionaires that are funding this whole thing. But what I want to talk about is what that video was about, which was basically a big, long video that was a pro-Paxton video saying that, you know, oh, this whole impeachment process was illegal, et cetera, when we all know that it's not. It's been disproven so many times. But the hypocrisy that I want to talk about is what I noticed throughout the entire video. And that is when Michael Quinn Sullivan is sitting across from Ken Paxton. Michael Quinn Sullivan, all of them knew that Ken Paxton had multiple instances where he cheated on his marriage. He cheated on his wife. He committed multiple acts of infidelity. This past week, we had a bunch of news come out that showed all the records that he created a fake Uber account. He created a fake email address so that he could make his rendezvous. And you're probably thinking, well, Hunter, why are you mentioning this? Well, the reason why I'm mentioning this is that Michael Quinn Sullivan, you have people like Luke Macias, you have people like Jonathan Stickland. They all talk about being Christian conservatives. In fact, I'm just going to pull up some graphics here. I wish I could show it to you. But if you go to Jonathan Stickland's Twitter page, his profile says Christian conservative, liberty-loving Texan, among other things. Okay? And of course, Michael Quinn Sullivan, we see many times all of these people post their Bible verses. But there's one thing that they did not talk about in that entire video, and that was his illicit affairs. And the fact that he did commit an illegal act by firing whistleblowers, which is against state law. And now the Attorney General wants you and I to foot the bill for his legal troubles to the tune of $3 million. And that's just absolutely outside the realm of common sense. But the hypocrisy I want to talk about is that these people call themselves Christian warriors. They say, you know, we are Christian conservatives. And they're always talking about following our legislative priorities and following our platform. Well, let's go to the Republican Party of Texas platform, adopted summer 2022, just 1 year ago, not long after this month that we're in, just about a year ago, that platform was adopted. And I want to talk about a couple of key points here. First of all, number 3, the laws of nature and nature's God and we support the strict adherence to the original language and intent of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Texas. Notice those words, the laws of nature and nature's God, talking about a divine presence, talking about God, or as we say in Hebrew, we say Adonai. So they're talking about God who is a moral and just God. Number 7, personal accountability and responsibility. That's what we believe in. Number 8, self-sufficient families founded on the traditional marriage of a natural man and a natural woman. Now we can just stop right there. Ken Paxton has violated the natures of God or the laws of God more times than anyone really cares to count. He has not really taken any personal accountability or responsibility. In fact, nobody is. Nobody's even talking about it. Scorecard's not talking about it. Defend Texas Liberty's not talking about it. Luke Macias is not talking about it. And yes, Luke, if you're watching this, I've talked to you before on the phone, and I'm telling you right now that all of you guys look like a bunch of hypocrites. It's because you are. You can't sit there and carry the Christian flag as a banner into the political realm and then turn a blind eye whenever somebody is grossly, not carrying out the duties of what a moral person is supposed to be. And technically, according to this, going against our platform, but I'm not done yet. Number 208, under the section called Human Sexuality, it says, we affirm God's biblical design for marriage and sexual behavior between one biological man and one biological woman, which has proven to be the foundation for all great nations in Western civilization. Couldn't agree with that statement more. But is Ken Paxton doing that? Did he do that? No, he did not. And let's be clear, how much of the public dime was being spent while he was making these rendezvous and what have you? I haven't really heard too much about that. But we can set aside how much of the public dime, and let's just talk about morality, because that's what you guys like to stand on, is morality. And in fact, all of your surrogates and sycophants, that's what you guys like to stand upon. And I like to stand upon morality too. And I'm sure I can hear you right now saying, well, you can't judge a man, etc. We'll get to that in just a moment. Number 210. These are items, again, from the Republican Party of Texas platform adopted by the delegates who attended there. I was an alternate, but I witnessed this being adopted. You can go download it from the RPT website. Number 210. The definition of marriage, and we support the definition of marriage as a God-ordained legal and moral covenant only between one biological man and one biological woman. I would argue at this point right now that Ken Paxton has basically walked all over those items of our platform. So what's hypocritical about it? Well, because I don't see these guys talking about it at all. They did an entire video where they didn't even ask the question. And these are the same people that accuse other journalists or other politicians who they call rhinos and what have you of throwing softball questions or giving softball answers. You did an entire video that was a softball. You didn't even pitch the ball to him. You gave him an intentional walk. That's what's happened here. This is what's hypocritical. And you know what? Common sense Republicans like myself and many others throughout the state, some of them which you have driven away from the polls, have seen this, and we've had enough. But yet you continue with your text message campaigns, with your email campaigns, trying to save this man's career, and all you talk about is, well, look what he's done for Texas. He's done so much for Texas. So yes, he may have done some things legally for Texas, but these parts of our platform that have been violated, I have seen state representatives censured for less, and certainly censured for what were perceived violations of the platform. I just read you 5 things there in which Ken Paxton has violated. And all of that because of the immorality that he participated in. And yet I hear nothing discussed about that other than from the so-called Christian banner carriers that simply say this. They say, well, we're all, we all sin and we all fall. Yes, we all sin and we all fall from grace and whatnot. But you want to know something? A person with a shred of contrition would have said, you know what? I messed up my marriage. I need to resign. I need to go home and try to salvage my marriage. I need to seek God's face. I need to seek some kind of absolution for my sins. No, we don't see that. What we see is a very defiant attorney general that is standing right there and saying, I'm going to keep my job. And Scorecard and Defend Texas Liberty and all of you other fringe groups out there, whatever the names of your groups are, you like to sit there and say, well, this is about thwarting the will of the people. This has nothing to do with that. Nobody is above the law. And for many of you that love to question or to quote the founding fathers and what have you, even they agreed nobody is above the law. That's why our documents are written the way that they are. And yes, they do apply to Ken Paxton. And the hypocrisy that I am seeing from people that call themselves believers who are not calling foul on this simply because it suits your political agenda, it absolutely undermines your credibility. And worse, you are undermining the credibility of the Republican Party of Texas. And the worst part about it all is that our own party chairman, Matt Rinaldi, is leading the charge along with these other fringe groups. This is not how you enter into a contested presidential election year when you have an integrity issue that starts at the top and it filters on down. And thankfully, within the SREC and other grassroots, and the other areas of the grassroots of the RPT, there are many people that are just as disgusted as I am about this. But there's a lot of them that aren't, and the ones that aren't are some of the loudest voices. So you can sit there and you can call yourself a believer, you can call yourself a Christian, you can attach whatever name you want, but if you're not calling foul on this simply from these violations in our own platform, just on marriage, I'm just talking about his marriage and his immorality, that disqualifies him from being there. If you can't see that, then you are beyond common sense. And quite frankly, you don't even belong in a position of leadership if you happen to be in one. This is what I wanted to talk about tonight. And we've been on here for about 15 minutes. And I've really been thinking about this. I wanted to do something like this last weekend. I just couldn't get to it. But this is one thing that's been standing out more than anything else. I hear no calls for resignation because of him violating these areas of the platform. And the reason why is because a lot of people got a lot of money wrapped up in our current Attorney General. And I'm not going to take away anything that he has done, legally, whether it was fighting against, the Biden administration, fighting against Obama, or whatever. I'm not going to take anything away from him on that. But the day that he decided to cheat on his marriage, he violated the Republican Party of Texas platform. If we're going to have any integrity and we're going to say, well, it's all about, you can't just simply say it's about the platform and it's about our legislative priorities when it politically suits you and it's politically expedient. It either applies across the board or you know what? It makes a lot of you out there that are not doing this a bunch of liars. That's what it really does. And I'm just being bold enough to say it. There's a lot of other people out there that want to say it. Some of them try to say it at their precinct chair, at their county party meetings, but you have other precinct chairs that are speaking over them, taking microphones away, or bringing their separate microphones and talking over people like petulant children. That's what's going on. I'm a common sense Republican. I want a leader with integrity. I want a leader with some morals. We got a lot of good candidates coming up in this presidential election that fit that bill. We have a lot of people in down ballot races that fit that bill. But I can tell you what, right now, all of this nonsense has been nothing but fodder for the Democrats. It is absolutely undermining our position of credibility. And in this particular case, with our Attorney General not only violating the law, but also violating portions of our platform. And I don't hear any of you people out there that are always stirring up censures and stuff. None of you are saying anything about this. Instead, you're staying the opposite and say, oh, we got to protect him because this is undermining the vote. We see right through it. I see right through it. Other common sense Republicans, other Reagan Republicans see right through it. Moderates see through it. Weak Democrats see through it. And in case you don't know what a weak Democrat is, for those of you out there that like to do this sort of thing, it's those that may be a Democrat, but oftentimes they may vote Republican. How do you think that's helping grow our party? Well, it's not. And so, once again, here we are with the hypocrisy from the cult that's in our party. I'm not going to even call them a faction. They're not a faction, they're a cult. Because if you don't walk lockstep with them, they call you a rhino. I've been called one today about 2 or 3 times. Simply because I have the audacity to use common sense and independent thought, things that used to be valued by our party, but by a small faction of you out there, you guys have made it into basically some kind of abomination. So you look at these items that I talked about. You can go to the RPT website. You go under the menu that says RPT platform. Just pull up the Adobe document and type in the word marriage. You can do what's called a Control F or find. Type in marriage and you'll see these things in there. I'm not making it up. Ken Paxton has violated every one of those issues on our platform. And again, he should be censured for it. But I don't see a single county party even doing that right now. Now, he's coming up for an impeachment hearing, and it's all going to come out. But regardless of whatever happens in the Senate, whether he's formally expelled or not, it doesn't change the fact that those who are trying to carry the Christian banner and talk about, God and things like that and about morality, and you're saying nothing about this, you are absolutely undermining yourself, and we all see it. And because of that, you may very well cost us some votes, possibly some elected seats come next year. That's all I have to say tonight on this subject. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. It's right at about 20 minutes. It's kind of where I wanted to keep it at. If you've got any questions, if you want to contact me, you can find me on X, which used to be called Twitter. You just type in @HunterBonner, and I'll be there, and I'll respond to direct messages. You can tag me, and that's fine. If you want to email me, you can email me at hunterbonner@outlook.com. Again, that's hunterbonner@outlook.com. Love to hear from you. Love to speak with you, especially if you're in a party right now in your county where maybe some of these people have basically taken over. And there's no sense of, cooperation or anything like that. I'll be glad to speak with you. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate it. And hopefully this message will resonate some. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care. God bless America. God bless Texas. We'll see you next time.